because you don't always need to follow the trends and make sales. Because if I know that you're a yogi and you're true to yourself, whatever it is it might be, I know to go to you for that, because that is authentically coming from you into your jewelry, through your hands, into the pieces.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 159. Hey there, it's Tracy Matthews, the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive, and I'm the host of Thrive by Design today. Per usual, I'm back. Anyway, I thought I would do something a little bit different for the next two episodes. And you probably have heard me talking about our Flourish and Thrive live event. Well, every year I get so excited. And now it's summertime, which means it's only a few months away. September 26th and 27th, we're hosting 2 days of epic jewelry business goodness. If you are also listening to this and you happen to have a handbag line or fashion brand, you would benefit so much from joining this conference. Now, when I set out to not only launch this podcast, but also start Flourish and Thrive Academy years and years ago, one of the things that I really wanted to do more than anything was to create community. And that's what this event is all about. And then on top of that, we get you in front of some really amazing people who can help you grow your biz, who can help you get more exposure, where you can learn new marketing tricks from me and our speakers and your peers. It is awesome. And I use the word tricks because sometimes marketing feels like you're pulling some tricks out of your bag, but they're really like standard marketing practices that, number one, you should be doing, but also some of the latest and greatest things that will help you really elevate your business and bring things to the next level. So I'm very excited about the event this year. We have some really great speakers and we have some amazing sponsors, including our sponsor for today's podcast, which I will share with you in a moment. But, we have speakers, of course, Robin and I are going to be there speaking, and we have some really great students from our SOS coaching program who are going to share some amazing things that they've done in their business with you. And I love this part of it because they get to do these like 10-minute super shares where they share just a couple of really simple things that you can do that have really big impact. This year, we also have some really great speakers, and we are confirming more as we speak. But confirmed already, of course, the lovely Sabina Hitchin, who is going to be coming in and talking about PR and how to really get the most of your PR strategy. We have my friend Susie Moore, who is going to come in and talk about how to use guest blogging to get more traffic and exposure for your brand and your website. She has some amazing strategies that literally within a day, by getting on a huge influencer's blog, brought in thousands of leads for many, many businesses. And I'm saying many businesses because she teaches this to a lot of people and they all get very similar results. And this is a huge missed opportunity for people in the jewelry and product space because you're not thinking outside of the box strategically of how you can use guest blogging to get exposure for your brand. And I want you to think of something else, is that one of the things that gets your website to rank higher in Google is by having outbound links coming into your site. And that's exactly what guest blogging can do for you. So I'm excited to have Susie. She is just a firecracker. She's amazing. She was on our panel last year on our PR and marketing day, and she's awesome. So I'm excited to have her speak this year. We have a really great industry professional who's going to talk about paying yourself profits first. We have Ingrid Helke of Profits First coming in to speak. And in fact, I interviewed the sort of guru behind the Profits First concept, Mike Michalowicz. He's coming up in episode 161. So stay tuned for that because it's pretty awesome. Anyway, the event is going to be amazing. Our sponsor will also be hosting a breakout session. We're going to have things covering topics like Facebook advertising, Instagram, influencers, PR influencers who actually show up and speak on our panel. It is going to be insane. So today, I'm going to share with you, I'm really excited about this because we're doing a big behind the scenes of our marketing day panel, because this was one of the fun things. We just have, the panels are really long. They're about 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. So we're giving you sort of a sneak peek behind the scenes of some of the juicy goodness. And I can't believe I just used the word juicy because I'm not super into using the word juicy to describe anything except for food. But I'm going to give you the juicy behind the scenes. No, just kidding. Anyway, the panel was insane. So I want to give you a little sneak peek behind the scenes of kind of what goes on there. And If you're interested in joining us for Flourish and Thrive Live, we just have a few tickets left. They're going like hotcakes. The room is at 75% capacity. And I want to mention this is a very intimate event. All of our SOS coaches and DI mentors, for the majority of them, are actually coming. So if you want to meet your coaches and mentors in person, please, please, please come. It's going to be awesome. I'll have the link in the show notes, but you can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/FTA Live 2018 to check out all the details and sign up. I'll be leading several keynotes throughout the event. Of course, our master of sales, Robin, will be there speaking, and she has some really great fun stuff for you too. And I'm hoping to have a surprise wholesale expert guru coming in to talk about merchandising. Is unconfirmed, but you do not want to not be in this room if you are interested in learning how to sell more to stores, because she's going to tell you. So let's do this, guys. If you're interested in showing up, please head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/FTA Live 2018. All right. Today's sponsor is Mariel Diaz and Accounting for Jewelers. I am obsessed with accounting for jewelers for a couple of reasons. I wish Mariel had been around. I don't think she was alive because she's a lot younger than me. When I started my business, I don't think she had a business yet because she was probably in high school when I was starting my business. But I wish that she was around back in the day because I never had an accountant and or bookkeeper who really understood the ins and outs of the jewelry industry. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing what Accounting for Jewelers does. It was founded by Mariel Diaz, and Mariel brings her lifetime of jewelry industry expertise to accounting. Mariel was a GIA graduate gemologist, a German-trained gemstone carver, and a second-generation classically trained metalsmith when she consistently saw the need for organizations and the understanding of numbers in a business. This led to a degree in accounting and work in corporate accounting before she felt comfortable helping jewelers understand their financial reports for less stress and informed success. Accounting for Jewelers is officially crossing the 5-year mark. They are jam-packed. I know Mariel has been hiring a ton of staff. And I say a ton because she needs support because her business is growing so quickly because this is such a widespread need in the jewelry industry. So whether you're a studio artist or an established franchise, they provide simple, customized solutions, not only to organize your business, but also to save time and money. They act as a team member for your business to help with growth, strategy, and tax compliance. Accounting for Jewelers offers a wide range of services, and they're all accounting services, obviously, including full service bookkeeping, registrations and taxes, verification services, financial strategy, and business advisory services. Plus, they have courses and applications that are going to help you get your business tight and right. One of my favorites is their product, getbenchworks.com. It's an app for inventory management. We'll have a link in the show notes. And also, do-it-yourself online training course for the complete setup and maintenance of Xero. So if you're wanting to get your bookkeeping up and have someone in-house running your bookkeeping instead of hiring an outside bookkeeper, this is the course for you. I know Mariel loves Xero, and she's going to talk a little bit more about that, or she talked a little bit about it, I should say, in episode 158 last week. So make sure that you check that out and listen to the full episode, and make sure that you go check out Accounting for Jewelers. And look, if you want to check out the DIY course and you're interested in saving some money like every smart business person should, you're going to head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/A4J. That's the letter A, the number 4, and J. And enter the code Thrive by Design in all lowercase at checkout. You're going to get $100 off the course or any course that you buy over at accountingforjewelers.com. Accountingforjewelers.com. Awesome. So let's dive into today's episode. You're going to get this great behind the scenes all about Flourish and Thrive Live. Make sure that you come because Mariel is going to be there as well. You can chit chat with her.
If you are sitting here and you cannot tell me your unique point of view on life, not on jewelry, actually on life, that should be your homework for the next month. I literally spent $10,000 on a company, and all I got out of was the fact that, what is your unique point of view on life? I'm like, what are you talking about? But from this terribly expensive experience, I figured out that, wait, what is my unique point of view on life? And from that stemmed, and you remember, because I called you after I made that $10,000 deposit, that I did not know what my unique point of view on life was. What does that mean? How do you go through life? How do you design something that you want somebody else to buy from you, whether it's 5 or 500 or 5,000, if you don't have a unique point of view on life? So if your unique point of view is, for me, it was always be your best you. It sounds very simple, but after spending a few hours with these people hounding me and asking me questions, I realized always be your best you. That's how I view life. So like all of my segments stem from this, which is why, like I said before, like I don't do trend segments. I don't do certain things because they don't fall into this thing, but I do time-saving tips for busy women and busy moms. How can you always be your best you with your style, with your jewelry, with your products for your kids, whatever it might be? So I would spend time asking yourself, what is my unique point of view on life? Because that is going to influence your jewelry. And that's also going to help you avoid trends, because you don't always need to follow the trends and make sales. Because if I know that you're a yogi and you are true to yourself and you're making gapamala beads and you're doing, whatever it is it might be, right? I know to go to you for that, because that is authentically coming from you into your jewelry, through your hands, into the pieces. And when you're writing your bio as only you can, it is going to come through. That is, I think, the best tip I ever got from a marketing company, and the best tip that I give to anybody in life.
I have a line of women's jewelry that's modern, but I've recently decided to go very narrow and deep with a line of men's meteorite cufflinks that take a man anywhere he wants to go. My question is twofold. Is there anything you can advise me on that is different with men's jewelry that I should be watching out for or applying? And where I'm from Denver, and in Denver, while there's a lot of rich people in Aspen and Vail, Colorado and Denver isn't really a culture where men wear a lot of cufflinks. So my major market is on the East Coast in Europe. So how would you advise me to promote my cufflinks?
The sports guys, like go for, I'm doing an interview on Monday on Odell Beckham style. I know nothing about sports, and I'm like doing a whole thing. No, I've been looking at all these different sports people, and these guys are like the up and come, like, which women, we don't, our boyfriends, husbands, they pay attention to the sports people and what they're doing. And that's how I started getting it in my ear a little bit, where people were asking me for my advice on what I thought about some football player was wearing. And I'm like, why am I commenting on this? But that for you, I think would be a great target, because those guys definitely have the money to spend, and, they're in the media all the time. They're the ones who people are looking at, wanting to wear. So if he's wearing your cufflinks, you're going to get the sales.
I also think that event planners, so if you're weddings and you've got the athletic guys in Denver, that's a cool thing. Every man should have a pair of good cufflinks. And I would pose it that way. And why not yours? Because yours are really extra cool.
And I wanted to just, we talked about this yesterday. Everything I talk about is always about PR. But so beyond the sales, a couple of things. Men, I said this yesterday, we all were like the dudes and everything, but I commented that not every man is a dude or a bro, and you're losing a big audience if you think that. So, and I was saying how my husband, I rarely see him without a pocket square if we're going anywhere. Like, this man dresses up and he loves to shop for himself. And so reminding yourself of that, then saying, where are these men? What are they reading? What podcasts are they listening to? What magazines are they reading? What newspapers? Most things are now online, but my husband reads the Times, the Washington Post, and all these things. So finding homes for yourself there, because they shop and they spend. And also, I look at brands that are complementary or parallel to mine, because they've already done the research. And then I say, where are they appearing? What blogs, what magazines are they appearing in? That could be a home for my accessories for men as well. And then, of course, appealing to women in the holidays, because, of course, I'm shopping. I buy my husband cufflinks a lot if they're special, things like that. So then saying, where are the women who would buy this product? What are they reading as well?
I feel like Sabina. Facebook ads. I feel like I keep circling back to Facebook ads ad nauseum. But Facebook ads are a great application, as you said, around the holidays, targeting women shopping for their husbands. As Robin mentioned, weddings. You can target people who are newly engaged and potentially looking for cufflinks for, either their husbands or the fathers and the parties. And, I think a lot of gift giving. But I loved what you said about the having to have a stance. Like, you need a stance, and I love when clients say they've gone really deep and like almost feel uncomfortable in their niche. Like it feels like too far. But for Facebook ads in particular, I see that really work well when people go that deep into their niche.
So I worked with Todd Reed when he was launching a men's line in Boulder, Colorado. So I have some really specific ideas for you. And he's talking a really high price point. And what we learned was that his price point was too high for men. And men, it's really hard for men to shop for themselves. But there's a lot of great people that I recommend you connect with that maybe I could tell you about after, because it feels very specific to talk about here. But men is a tough audience and it's hard to find them. We really targeted golfers when we were trying to get in touch with and sports. So that's smart. But also with the meteorite, there's so many, like to Sabina's point, there's so many people outside of that. And so I would really think about all the different things that men are talking or listening to and looking at and following and all of that.
And I want to add to that because I was going to say there was such great advice coming on over here. I didn't want to interrupt anyone. Trying my best. But I used to have a men's line and I launched it parallel with sort of my fine jewelry collection. And men buy so differently than women. Just expect slower growth. And you have to find the audience and the people who want something really unique and special. Because I occasionally will design cufflinks for guys who actually like to collect them and they'll spend $1,000 or I was selling a couple pairs for like $1,500 each earlier in the year. But it's very specific and they're for a specific reason. So if you can sort of dial in on where they're shopping, where people are spending that money. And I love what Kathleen said, target the women who are shopping for the men because they're the ones who are going to actually spend the money. I did notice that like with my men's collection, unless it was something really specific, that the price point had to be a little bit lower than what I could sell on my women's collection. And this is when I was in the bridge market selling things for $50 to $300. You know, like a $300 necklace for a dude is really expensive. They would be like, well, I don't know why I can buy like a cheap, they don't know what sterling silver is, or, you know, they're just like, it's silver. Like, I don't get the difference.
I actually just got back from the UK. My mum lives in Oxford, which has a really great university, and 2 local stores were selling cufflinks as graduation gifts for the boys at scale. As far as I know, there are so many foreign students and international people there. And it was very special. And as far as I know, it looked like it was really, really popular. So that came to me.
I, also check out too that, so I have a good friend in Denver who sells men's clothing and she sells custom men's clothing and she consistently sells like 20,000 a month. So someone in Denver is buying nice clothing. So don't underestimate where you live. It's just finding the right people. And a lot of guys in Denver who are traveling finance, who love the outdoors. So they live there, but they're traveling around. So
I don't remember who said this, but every man should have at least one fine cufflink. Somebody said that. If you could find, and this may be even a tip for everybody, if you could find a stat somewhere or commission somehow to have this done where you can say, today, 75% of men have at least one cufflink, and you can be the person that is pushing the cufflink resurgence. That's a Wall Street Journal article. That's an entrepreneur article. So that's an article about you and your business, and you are leading the push, right? Because you want to be number one in there. So that could be something, and that could work maybe for anybody. If you can find a stat to support whatever it is that you're doing, that is now that's not even a trends specific style story. That's like a social shift story that goes like wildfire. And then they talk about your cufflinks, and then you're the leader in that pack. And I didn't ask what your price point was, but I would look at magazines that men and women read, or websites that men, so whether it is, if you're high end, if it's a Departures, whatever it is that men and women do together. So, cause I know I have this with my husband, like he'll open up Departures. I mean, we had this a few years ago. He's like, oh, look at those Tiffany's. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it looks like it's our initial and we should get that as our new wedding bands. I'm like, okay. And whatever it is that they're doing together, whatever show or again, TV, no, but magazine or our website that they might be engaging in together or newspaper, that would be a great bet.
And one other thing I want to add to that about the men and women shopping together. If you want to go the wholesale route and sell to stores, it's really great to sell to stores that are like smaller stores that don't have like necessarily separate men's and women's departments, but it's like I think of like stores that you would find in maybe LA or in New York where they have like a women's and a men's, and the jewelry counter would be like combined, because the men and women might be shopping together, but then also like a woman might be buying for herself and see something cool for her husband. And so those were the best stores that I had, because if you're doing more than just cufflinks, edgier women would buy my men's jewelry for themselves. So it was like sort of this crossover market. Yeah.
My background is I have European parents and I was born in Latin America. So in my family, every time you had a special occasion, you would have a little piece of jewelry. But also I didn't know my grandparents. So my mom would show me a medal and say, well, this was your grandmother and this is the story behind the piece. So that's my why. I always connected with a piece and story, right? So when my kids were growing up, we did the same thing, and we always like to open the jewelry box, and it's like, okay, show me all the shiny stuff, and we'll go around and say, okay, this was your grandmother. She's not here anymore, but this is about her. This is what she was, she did. So when I decided to go into jewelry, I wanted to create something that would connect people to special occasion story. And I created a design tool that will allow you to upload like kids art or anything that you can create your own story. You don't have to buy from somebody else. So, and I think that is different because you can put whatever means something to you, right? You don't have to pick up something that already somebody thought you would like. So that's one of my lines. And my question is, I do have 3 other collections and I'm starting. So is that a good idea to pitch one at a time, do like an A/B testing, or concentrate on one and let it grow and then introduce another collection?
I like the testing.
I mean, if you pitched me 4 lines, I wouldn't know which way to go.
Yeah.
The chances that all 4 are for me are very slim. Is your question also, should you start the other 3?
So my question is like, should I just pitch one to everybody and wait 3 months or a month?
No, you have to target. I would target. Yeah, like you may have 4 great collections that are good for 4 different people. You know, like I may love something really sparkly and girly and feminine, and then someone wants something, you know, edgy and dark and different. I don't know. You have the different places. You just have to. Sabina, she taught me probably one of the greatest things is that like you have to really know the market and who you're pitching. It's like you're not going to pitch Glamour or Cosmo magazine work boots or something, you know, that they wouldn't ever feature. You're going to pitch them something that's girly and that they like, you know. You have to really know each different place that you're sending it to and what you want.
So you think it'd be more productive if you just pitch the different collections to just different.
I don't think you have to eliminate any of them.
And I also want to, so there's a building next to near where my husband and I live, and we always laugh when we go by it because it says on this big poster on the side, "We specialize in everything." And I'm like, what? Like, no job is too big, no job is too small. I'm like, what? And you can't, at least not all at the same time. And I also think to do publicity for anything well, you can't do it for 4 big things at the same time. To grow a business well, you can't do it. Just like when I left my PR agency to teach public relations, at first I wanted to teach everything. And I'm like, I'm going to do social media, I'm going to do newsletters. And my business coach was like, no, you're not. So in the same way for you, it sounds like you are really connected to the collection you talked about first.
Right,
so that's
right,
your
definitely.
heart. And that you're going to want to feel because you're going to have to work really hard to do publicity. So maybe pick one, dig deep into it, find the homes for that, because then as you grow relationships and grow visibility, people are going to trust and get excited about you when you come out with a new collection or something to share.
Because I'm afraid they will compete, right, against each other.
I think it's just going to compete for your time. I mean, and I don't know what your sort of squad is behind you and how many people are in your company, but 4 is a lot. And I also agree. Like, I never want to say to somebody, you know, don't do it. But I think that it sounded like the first one was like beating at your heart. Right. I liked it, and I would love to figure out what it is because it sounds very sentimental in the family space. I think it's sellable and PRable, if that's a word. I would focus on the one because your time is very valuable and your money is very valuable. And I mean, I don't know, the other ladies will be able to speak more to it, but if you're also creating 4 collections and you haven't made one just already a rock star, you're now dividing your resources to 4 spaces and your time into 4 spaces and really not giving anybody their due diligence. And then you won't remember, oh, I sent this one to her and this one to me and this one just to be, you won't remember.
So as a really designer with a lot of ideas, because I'm not thinking of the right word right now, but as someone who generated a lot of collections, more is not more, less is more. And the more specific you can get something that's selling really well and then add to it. Like, don't try to do like Dawn said, like all these things at once, because I think I don't know if I would call it a mistake, but it was really hard for me when I launched my fine jewelry line and my men's line right around the same time, because they were both 2 completely different markets than I was selling with my like fashion cost or bridge collection. So it was like working on 3 different businesses. And the fine jewelry line started taking off eventually, but the men's line did pretty well. But had I had more time and energy to really focus on that and more resources to put behind it, because at this point I was like trying to keep up with both, it would have done a lot better than it did. And it was awesome. Like, people loved it when they got it. I didn't have the energy behind it to really promote it as well as I could have. So I would just stick with like one idea first, especially if you're just starting. I think it's fine to start layering in other things like we talked about earlier. Like, keep it simple, but then you can start to layer once you have something going well. And then you can add other things later.
Yeah, and like with publicity, you just need a hook, right? Someone to be like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah.
And then once they're in your world, you can give them a bit of everything, you know, like let them, but they need something to be exciting, to feel exciting to them. And how you spoke with such enthusiasm about like the moments or occasions you celebrate. Right. I mean, that's lovely. That's so relatable to everyone. And with your background, like, you know, right now, you know, everyone, you know, being immigrants, having a story coming from somewhere else, like that's a great hook. And then you just expand and then you show your other lovely stuff.
Thank you.
There's a great, you know, people talk a lot about if you cast a wide net, if you're trying to please everybody, you please no one.
Right.
So, I think you know what the meaning of this line that you're working on and that you want to present. And, you know, plus one to what, Tracy was saying that, you know, do it well. When you have all these other collections and also too, coming from a selling jewelry, what's really hard for me as a salesperson is if I have 4 different collections from one designer and they're not talking to each other, I can't tell that they're connected. That's not easy for me. So it's probably a line I wouldn't pick up. So just, you know, keep that in mind that it should tie in together, but test it out and start with one.
My question is about blogs. I've never written them in the past. I've been basically a wholesale all these years, and now I'm going to transition into retail. I'm actually going to create a different name for my line that's going to be retail. Where do blogs fit in? How often should you write them? You were saying, somebody was saying before, it should only be like 2 or 3 paragraphs. How do you get them out there? I mean, do I email them? Obviously, they go on my website. Do you email them to your e-blast, to your MailChimp list? How do they get out there?
I'm going to start because this is one of my favorite topics. Because were you here earlier when you saw me talk about the blog post that brought in $50,000 worth of sales from the referrals? So blogging has a couple of purposes. There are a lot of jewelry designers who don't do it, still have successful jewelry businesses. But if you're trying to get organic search, especially if you're doing a high touch product, it's really important to think about what your customer is interested in, what they might be searching for, because it helps them find your website. So that's one purpose of blogging. The second purpose is to create a connection with your audience. So when people come to your site, they know what you're about. It's just another tool that you can, you know, showcase your process or showcase your story or, you know, leverage your publicity. So it's a tool that you can use to kind of share your story, but also help people find you and increase the importance of your brand and the searchability of your website. And then as far as leveraging it, you should do all the things that you said. Email it out, share it on social media, talk about what you're doing. Just be consistent with it. I mean, it depends on what your goals are. I think like in a perfect world, like in the digital marketing space, like for what we do with Flourish and Thrive, it's important for us to put out content once a week because that's how we create a connection with our audience and get people excited about our podcast and the new episodes. It's a little bit ambitious for a jewelry business, but if you could do it once a week, that would be amazing because that would help pick up search. But I would say in the very minimum, if you could commit to once a month, then that would be really helpful.
I was going to add that if you are struggling to be like once a week, which I'd agree is essential, really. One thing I do with my students is we create category buckets, like thematic category buckets, I call them. And so you can say, okay, well, once in a while I'm going to do posts about my product. Once in a while it's going to be a celebration, like I was talking about sharing your press. Once in a while it's a listicle of little tips or something. It's a behind the scenes. So if we have it's always curating for what my brand's universe wants to read, not necessarily what I would love to write about my dogs all day long, but that's not what my audience wants. They want PR education. So pick out the category themes and buckets that your ideal audience would like. And then you sort of get that pattern going of, well, now I'm doing this post and now I'm doing this point. And you always have to have a calendar because if it's not written down, it's not real.
I have my friend now, Oriana. She wanted to create a blog. She wasn't sure how to do it. Very time consuming. So she created once a month. It's called Beauty and Bracelets. And she grabbed about 5 or 6 people, friends that she knew, to all write something and tie in her bracelets to it. So one girl is a makeup artist. So she ties in, and they pick a color of the month. So each month she says, okay, this month it's green. So the makeup artist talks about how she uses green makeup and how this bracelet ties into her green makeup. Another girl is fashion. So she ties in how her wardrobe tied into these green bracelets. So now all of a sudden she's like curating a blog and not having to create all this content. But yet now she has 4 or 5 stories throughout the month, within the month, to feature that each week. So now at the beginning of the month, she gets all the content. She puts it out there into, all the places, social media, newsletters, all that. And then each week kind of highlights each person's piece.
And is the most effective to be like 2 or 3 paragraphs? And
they're not,
images.
Yeah, they're not very long. She made it, it's really cute. It looks like a magazine cover when she puts it out there, and the magazine cover has all the different blog post titles on it. And then each one, when you go to actually it's good because each person's blog kind of gets a little bit of credit too, and it brings people to her blog, and it's been really good. But they're only like 3 or 4 paragraphs, I'd say, each at most. Actually, each person did something different.
So blogging is everything. If you can do it,
She's like, really
well, blogging is how I've completely grown my business. I repurpose my content. I use it on websites that are non-competitive. So everything that I've written, I've put on Mind Body Green too, and on Thrive Global, and on Huffington Post, etc., etc. There are very loose rules in certain cases if you're not being paid as a writer. And all of my media requests have come through my blog because Google's your friend once you're consistent with content. And you say how often? Consistency is more important than frequency. So even once a month is fine. 500 words, it's 1 page. Like that's not very much. And it can really be about anything. You mentioned listicles. That's fantastic. I would also really recommend doing anything on trends. So like seasonal, mention a celebrity. Everyone has Google alerts on themselves. So whenever I've even dropped in like thought leaders like Paulo Coelho or Ariana Huffington or Tony Robbins, they've retweeted it. So blogging is very, very powerful. Anyone can do it. Only 1% of people even bother to have any form of web authorship outside of social media. So you're definitely in a minority, and a nice high-end minority if you're consistent.
I also think like all the stuff you write on your blog, you can repurpose it for everything else that you do, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, you can have make it a Facebook Live, your blog post. I mean, you can take one piece and stretch it so far, rename it, post it again. Like if it's 9 tips for confident women, it could be 9 things all successful entrepreneurs know, like whatever it is. And you have a life, you have a library. It's amazing how much leverage you can get.
Also, it's a great place to use frequently asked questions and answer some things that come up. And what that allows you to do is if you have chat on your website, you can link right to that page. So if you sell sapphires, you can have a blog article, frequently asked questions about buying sapphires online. And that's crazy SEO rich. So it's going to get you up in Google. And then you're also answering questions before people ask them, which is a big piece. I don't know if you're thinking of selling online, but it's, the biggest reason people don't complete a purchase online is they didn't even know the question to ask. They just knew it wasn't being answered. So you almost have to preemptively answer their questions, which is a great way to quickly do a ton of blog posts.
Okay. In your blog post, make sure there are calls to action and links, even if it's a subtle, because I hate a naked blog post. And I feel like that's a blog post that just assumes I'm going to find everything you're talking about. So if you're talking about your pieces, even a specific piece, you're linking to them throughout. And, we still at my company, when I do a lot of tips and education, on our blog, but we link it up, and I every week am seeing the little ka-ching and the sales, and it's coming through people finding because they've read, and now we have a trust, and then they're being linked to something throughout. So make sure you're always linking.
Well, I just want to give you a big thank you for listening to today's episode. I had a blast bringing you this today. And as always, I love getting groups of people together. I love networking. I love connecting. So I hope that you will join us for Flourish and Thrive Live this year. We have a few seats left. And if you want to be one of the lucky ones to get featured by one of our influencers or make a great wholesale connection. In fact, one of our designers last year just made an epic connection with Uncommon Goods and shipped probably 170 units just for their Mother's Day catalog this last year, all through a connection that she met at Flourish and Thrive Live. So it is really the room to be in. Trust me on that. Thank you so much for listening. I am so excited to bring you this podcast every week. And if you enjoy this and you have other friends who are really, trying to get their jewelry business tight and right, or need a little extra inspiration in their entrepreneurial journey, I would love for you to share the Thrive by Design podcast with them. Thanks so much for listening today. Have an epic day. This is Tracy Matthews signing off.